So nice to meet you. Glad you are here. I want to talk to you today about why Kubernetes applications require a new approach to testing. A little bit about myself. I'm Bruno Lopes. I currently manage a product called Testkube, which is a testing framework in the Kubernetes area. My background is in software development, software engineering. I did some data science, DevOps, machine learning. I did basically all the full stack. And now, like for the past maybe 5 years, been just working in Kubernetes. Till last year, I joined Testkube. So let's talk a bit about testing. Let's talk about the challenges of application testing today. The large majority of testing applications are not really made with Kubernetes in mind. What I mean is, like, there are a lot of different tools. You can see like K8s, really good for load testing. SoapUI, probably used it in the past. It's a very old tool. Like, it's used for API testing and also do load testing and do mocking and do a bunch of things. And there's a lot of use cases that they do, and they are very good at it. Like Cypress, probably know this one. It's a very famous one to test web browsers, the UI, do end-to-end testing as well. And Postman, probably the most famous one, I feel, to do API testing. And each one of these tools does a use case very well, specifically. But they are not made like for Kubernetes. They are made for testing. Nor they should. They are not made to test Kubernetes or to test applications there. They are made with that use case in mind. However, having said that, there's some challenges when you create the test, because you create a test, you have your files, then you need to automate. You need to go to the CI/CD pipeline, you need to do just have to run them. So that's why there's some challenges after you create your test using these tools. Then comes the part, okay, how do I test my tests that are, how do I test my applications that are running in Kubernetes? So if you take these tests and then put it a part of your CI/CD pipeline, you are automating how you test your environments. Probably you have a bunch of Kubernetes environments. You might have staging, or might have dev environment, production, a bunch of them. If you have a simple pipeline, which is like build, use linters, unit testing, SonarQube for code analysis, all of these things, then you deploy to your environment. Now, on that environment, you may want to test a lot of things. Are all my different microservices working as I expect them to? Is the configuration right? Is that environment working? That other one is not. Why? What's the difference? I need to coordinate that using the CI/CD pipeline. So that can be very complex. You are adding a lot of scripts, a lot of boilerplate, a lot of things just for your pipeline to test those environments. And pipelines are not really made for that. They are made to deploy and to integrate, but not really for testing. Like, that adds complexity. Another challenge might be that in especially big corporates, you might not have the access that you need to test those applications. You might have the environment, let's say you are a banking, I'm not sure, maybe iCapital has very secure Kubernetes clusters, and some engineers might need to test environments to which they have not access. You might want to run API testing, so that's a challenge. You need dedicated components that might be inside or are configured to pass the firewall to test those APIs and actually make those tests. So that's also another challenge. And also, another one is that those tools don't have a lot of synergy. You have all these tools, they are made for those specific use cases, but if you want to combine your Postman tests with load balancing from load testing from K8s or other tools, and you want to run a specific test suite, you can do by using scripts and doing a bunch of things, but by default, you cannot just add them in together and just quickly run them, because no, that's a lot of effort to do so. So the solution is cloud-native testing. It's like a new paradigm where all your tests are made when you are building them, when you are defining them and adding to your Git repository. You made them with scalability in mind, so it doesn't matter if you are if you have a lot of tests that you want to run. You are running Kubernetes, so you are supposed to scale. As you scale and you add more tests, it's very common that you see, oh, my pipelines take a long time. Like, I just open a PR and now I need to wait 1 hour so that all my tests run. So that's not very cloud native. That's basically a very traditional way, and you should not be blocked by your tests to release those. Tests should help you, not block you. So scalability should be very important. Another one is flexibility. So it should be very easy to try new tools. It should be very easy to add new tests, to change your flow, change your pipelines. and that's like it's cloud-native testing. You're not supposed to be blocked and basically be, coupled with a solution that does not let you try things. The other thing is automation. Automation is always a big effort. That's why there are people which their job roles is automation testers. So people that their only job is just to automate things. So this is a full job, and there's a lot of effort there. With this goal in mind, I want to present you an open source tool. So it's the one that I told you that I'm working on. I'm currently leading this project. So basically, it's a Kubernetes native testing framework, open source. We are part of the CNCF Foundation. We are a civil member. And so basically what we do is we take care of this test automation part when you're trying to run tests in Kubernetes, and also take care of all that management and visualization of tests. So basically we have one single place where you basically manage everything. You create your tests, you add your tests, you run your tests, you see all the tests run, you see the logs, you can do it for everything. So exactly like how does this correlate with actually steps? Like how does it take care of that heavy lifting? One step when you are creating your tests and then you want to automate them is you probably want to run them in containers. If they want to run in Kubernetes, they must be in containers. So now one thing that you can leverage Testkube is you don't need to worry about containerizing tests. Testkube already has all those dependencies and can run the test directly for you, so you don't need to containerize them. It takes Kubernetes, the scheduler, it schedules the tests, so you can run like 1,000 ones, and Kubernetes takes care of that scheduling. So it doesn't matter how many tests you have, if you have enough resources in your cluster, that will not slow you down because everything will be parallelized using Kubernetes. So it's scaling as you are. The other one is circumventing restricted environments, because you can use this framework and it's living inside your cluster, inside Kubernetes. You can just open the Kubernetes API, you can call Testkube, and Testkube runs the test inside the cluster for you. So you don't need to expose any APIs to the world. You can just expose the testing framework to run your tests. And of course, you don't need complex scripts or boilerplate code to run it. So it's compatible with these tools. Most of them were provided by the community, so people are using Testkube, and they feel, okay, I'm doing a test using, Selenium. Okay, let me write an executor, I contributed to the community, and now everybody can run Selenium using Testkube and run tests there. So it's very pretty much a community effort. Everybody is running this. Our core team also provides a lot of testing frameworks support that is built in. So yeah, you will leverage that. So basically, let me show you an example of a CI/CD system that is more traditional, and the other one you can use with Testkube. So in this one, you have build, deploy, and you have a list of tests, different steps on your CI/CD pipeline. And this is your cluster, and you see the application there. If you want to add more tests, or you put another test here, or have a different flow, you need to make changes to your CI/CD pipeline. You need to talk probably with your DevOps team or somebody that owns those pipelines, probably to your QA manager or tester. So it's not as straightforward. In this example, Testkube is basically the manager where you define all your test suites and your tests. So everything lives inside the cluster, and your CI/CD does not need to suffer any changes. Basically, the only thing that CI/CD has is logic. So you define what you want to automate and when things you want to can run, and basically all the complex things live inside the cluster. So you do not have to worry about that. So let me just show you, give you a quick example of how can this be leveraged. So just a quick demo, I can show you. What is it? Okay, this one. So this is a demo environment. It's currently you can actually go to this URL and you see this. Exactly what I'm seeing here is something that is open to the world. And this is the dashboard for all your tests. You can see all the list of your tests that are running in your cluster, or test suites. So let me just see one. So basically, this is tests that anyone just created. Let me click on one here. So basically, you have a test suite. a test suite is a list of tests that are going to run. So if I click on a test, basically it shows the logs of your test, shows the list of executions that happen, and basically you can trigger a lot of executions here. This can happen using the UI or in an automated manner. You can use basically our add-ons for your CI/CD, where the CI/CD is triggering these executions. Or if you want to do that like using a UI and you run the test and see, okay, is my environment running properly? Like, are my tests passing? You can actually visualize them, the test duration, basically all the history of execution. So you can do that. So let me let's create a quick test right now. So here on the right, you see a K8s test that fails half of the times. So I have a random number here, and half of the times it will fail. So let me go here. So this is my list of tests. I'm gonna add a new test. Let's say K8s, say I capital. I can add labels like in Kubernetes resources. So if my label can be, I don't know, app I capital. And then I say the type. So the type is what tells Testkube which type of application it is, what dependencies we need. So if it was a Cypress test, I'll choose Cypress, Gradle, I don't know, we have a bunch of ones, Maven. So these are like SoapUI, Postman, all of those. In this example, I'm going to try to find K8s because right now it's very difficult. Here it is. And I'm going to choose a file. So I'm going to upload basically this file. I could have chosen a GitHub repo, like directly. I could put just basically my username, URI of the repository, the branch, the path, and this will basically sync your cluster with your GitHub repo to fetch your test and then run them directly. But for this example, I'm just going to put a file. So I'm going to browse this, and where is the desktop? My tests. This is very small, sorry. This test random. This one, okay. So I'm going to create it.
You may want to zoom in.
Oh, cool. So I'm just going to spam this button. And so basically, this is scheduled 37 tests in the cluster. And now they are running in parallel. And as they are running, you see basically the metrics changing here, the execution duration, and the metrics are changing. It shows you basically the failures. And if you want to see the logs, basically you can come here, basically see the logs that were produced by K8s. And if a test fails, you basically just see it very fast. Yeah, that's it.
How do you make sure that the reason why, for example, I use GitLab is that I have a pipeline that's described in code? How do you make sure that your tests are described in code?
Good question. So let me show you. The tests are described in code. They are CRDs, so they are Kubernetes resources. So all your tests can be version controlled like this. So you can put a YAML on your Git repo, and you can kubectl, apply them to your cluster. So they become defined, and then Testkube can pick those resources, and basically that's your definition.
Okay, so it would work, for example, if we use Argo CD to read that config repo.
Yeah, we have a lot of users that use Argo CD, and we have a generator that takes basically Postman collections, goes to your repo, say Testkube generates CRDs, generates all the YAMLs, and applies them directly to the cluster.
Imagine an application that is a collection of microservices stored in a AWS ECS Fargate. Isn't in a Kubernetes cluster, right? Can I deploy my application calling my Kubernetes cluster with kube test?
So if I got it right, you have your test in one cluster, and you want to call an API that's outside of the cluster, in another place. Yes, you can. So you can. There are some users that use just Kubernetes to spread the load, and they are testing things outside the cluster. For example, for K8s, there's a lot of load testing, and that's like heavy loads. So I'm using a cluster just to schedule the tests, and then testing APIs that are outside of the cluster. Okay.
Sorry, I'm a bit late, so I didn't catch the start of the presentation. But I'd like to ask, so with kubectl, what we can do with this application is I can use Kube to, well, OpenShift or something that manages Kubernetes clusters to generate new VMs or new instances and apply this to a cluster created ad hoc from to a pipeline.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So as long as if it's Kubernetes, this can run in there. Vanilla Kubernetes works fine. OpenShift as well. With OpenShift, I think there's some issues where you cannot run pods as root, so they need to be non-root. But I think all of our pods are non-root. The only thing I think you might face is our Mongo database, which is the storage system for this. You might need to put your Mongo database in a different place, but everything should work flawless.
Okay. Or Tanzu or another.
Anything, any Kubernetes distribution.
Yes.
I do understand the advantages of using it, but I'm not sure about if, since you are an open source, how you monetize these kind of services.
Good question. So right now we are just open source, and we need to figure out okay, we need to pay salaries, right? We need to pay the salaries of the engineers. As many open source tools do, is we are having an hosted version built on top of the open source one, where you can basically have Testkube in the cloud, so you don't have to even deploy basically your database, your storage system to your Kubernetes cluster. You can just use the cloud version. So it's in our roadmap. We plan to release it maybe in February, March. That's our release plan. So you basically can have these. You can have in the cloud. You can have user management, so you can add people to this, remove people, and have some features that are only available in the cloud. All right. Thank you so much.